Sec Taylor Stadium, a little bit less than 2 weeks ago. That's what a national television audience saw on ESPN. And it was hard to imagine for anybody in the country that baseball could be played here again this season. People were thinking maybe it would be similar to the situation in the Quad Cities, where they won't open their baseball park for the rest of the season. But that's not the story at Sec Taylor Stadium. Despite the flooding at the confluence of the two rivers, things are much, much better tonight. This is live Sec Taylor Stadium, and the field is maybe not in perfect shape, but it's certainly a whole lot better. There will be baseball, and this homestand will be played as scheduled. And the man who helped spearhead the effort is our guest tonight on this pregame edition of the Iowa Cubs baseball telecast, Mike Andreessen's the head groundskeeper. Mike, I know you didn't do it alone, but you and your crew had a marvelous job. How tough was it?
It was pretty tough. I appreciate those words, and it was the crew. The crew worked hard, and I've had 5 guys here since Monday. It was a tough job. I didn't think we could do it, but they were up to it.
When you saw the scenes we were looking at, did you think we could play again this quickly?
There was only one chance, and that was that the water receded off quickly, and it did. It was on about 24 to 30 hours, so that was our only chance, and we got lucky and got it.
What did you have to do?
We pretty much tore the whole field up and put it back together. The grass, you do some inventive things to dry out the ground underneath it. The dirt, we just tore it up and put it back together. That was it.
What kind of a drainage system is there under Sec Taylor Stadium?
Whatever the soil will drain off. We don't have one of the PAT systems or anything like that. It's just dirt on top of a landfill, that's it.
And of course you had a little handicap because of some vandalism that occurred to your equipment prior to the flood. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we had the equipment set up on the crosswalk for the high waters. Somebody came in that night and ran the equipment around, tore it up pretty good. We had that sent out. The vendors were good enough to get that right back to us. So it held us up a couple days, but that was it.
Now tell us about the condition of the field tonight. As we mentioned, it looks good. What's it really like?
The infield is real nice. The players are going to like it. It's firm, but it still has moisture in it. It's real good. The outfield is wet. Everything that was under the water during the flood, the water, is just about at soil level now. It's not as firm as we'd like. I would say that in some previous games we played in wetter conditions, so it's not as bad as it can get.
Right now the forecast is for the showers to hold off until this game is over, but more rain is forecast for the weekend. Are you in a situation where you can't take a whole lot more rain and still have this field playable?
Yeah, we sure are. The outfield can't take any more. We have a tarp for the infield, so we don't worry ourselves too much with that. The outfield can't take too much more.
Now, I've heard people come out here and say, I want my yard to look just like the one here at Sec Taylor Stadium. You were saying, for example, in getting ready for this game, you mowed 4 times in one day. Just how much maintenance does it take?
It takes an unbelievable amount. I work harder when the team's out of town. People think that's when you take off. That's when you get your grass back. That's when you gain on it, and then you try to maintain when they're in town.
Where did you learn to do what you do?
Practical experience, really. I went to DMAC and got a horticulture degree. I worked at different sites, and you pick things up, and then Louisville from Chicago, the Chicago groundskeeper, comes down for a week in the spring, and with any problems I can, he's a phone call away.
Now we know in the major leagues you hear about various players go to the head groundskeeper and they want their area groomed a certain way, especially on the infield. Does that happen here?
Yeah. Certain players like it certain ways, and we try to take care of their spots.
Give me an example.
Greg Smith likes his area pretty soft. We keep it soft for him. You can do that by varying your mowing. Dig up the infield a little bit around his spot. He likes it that way. Some of the other players, when Ray Sanchez was here, you could keep the shortstop area a little bit firmer. Ray was quick enough. He could get to the balls. He had a great arm. So you could allow the ball to be a little quicker, and he would still get to it.
Well, Mike, I know you and your crew earned some stripes this last couple of weeks, and I think all baseball fans around here owe you a debt of thanks because we're able to play tonight. Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Mike Andreessen, the head's groundskeeper for the Iowa Cubs here at Sec Taylor Stadium, our guest prior to tonight's game between Iowa and Louisville. It's been a while since the Cubs have been home. July 8th, the last home game, but right on schedule. They're home again tonight. We'll have more in tonight's game in just a couple of minutes. For being our guest on the pregame show, Mike Andreessen will receive dinner for two at any one of the 3 diner locations, Clive, Johnston, and in Des Moines near Drake. Of Central Iowa presents the 25th anniversary season of AAA baseball in Iowa. Tonight, the Iowa Cubs meet the Louisville Redbirds. Welcome to Sec Taylor Stadium with Dick McDonald. This is Larry Morgan. As we mentioned, the Iowa Cubs are back right on schedule to take on Louisville. 3.5 games, a big figure for both these ball clubs. That's Iowa's lead, and that's Louisville's deficit. So both these teams right in the midst of a pennant race.
Yeah, all of a sudden, you know, a month and a half ago, we look at the Iowa's, you know, race, and they're up by 11 games, and you're going out getting size for a championship ring, and right now it's 3.5, and you know, they're holding on for dear life. Omaha's playing awful well, but Iowa still has a 3.5 game lead.
Let's talk about that change in the Iowa Cubs. Of course, they set a blistering pace and had the best record in professional baseball for the first 6 months of the season. But lately, a lot of changes, and that's really resulted in a ball club that has very much changed in its character.
Yeah, it certainly has. At the beginning of the year, you know, there were a great deal, you know, a number of players on this team that had big league experience, some of which have gone up to the big leagues. A few of them have, you know, have been moved or released or, you know, sent down to Orlando. So what was a very, very experienced and somewhat unfair AAA team, but we're not going to complain about that, has now become a legitimate AAA team with a sprinkling of veterans on the team and, you know, a lot of prospects coming up from AA.
Now, why the change at this particular time of the year, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with probably money more than anything else. One of the things that Sid Thrift, when he was here at the beginning at the opening series of the season, he said, well, I hope you like this team. He says, it costs us a lot of money. And, you know, I guess if you look at a veteran that they're paying maybe $6,000 a month to hit 171, it's a lot easier to pay a guy $1,000 or $1,500 a month that's in your system and bring him up and, you know, at least get the same return for a lot less money. But I think that may have a lot to do with it. And, you know, they signed a lot of these guys, and, you know, some just didn't work out.
Let's take a look at the starting pitchers tonight. For the Iowa Cubs, Steve Traxel gets the start. Might be, we'll take a look at him in a moment. First of all, it'll be Paul Anderson on the mound for the Cardinals' top farm club, the Louisville Redbirds. Anderson making just his 3rd appearance in AAA after being called up from Arkansas.
Well, he's a big guy. He's 6'4", 215, and when he's out on the mound, you see an awful lot of arms and legs coming at you. And, you know, nobody knows all that much about, you know, what he can throw, but if he's that big, one would assume he can throw hard.
Cubs beat him on Sunday by a score of 7-1. In fact, it was Steve Traxel who was on the mound for Iowa in that game. He's on the mound again tonight. And this young man might be the brightest starting prospect in the organization right now.
He's done real well. He's gone through, you know, a period of time there where, you know, at one time he was 7-0. He's 1-3 in his last 4 decisions, but he can pitch, and he's young. He's only 22 years old, so you know, he is a bright prospect for Chicago.
Traxel, who pitched in the College World Series for Long Beach State, on the mound tonight for the Iowa Cubs. It's Iowa and Louisville, and the starting lineups are next. Overcast right now at Sec Taylor Stadium. However, the forecast is for most of the rain activity to hold off until after midnight. A brief shower fell about 7:05. Not enough to put the tarp on the infield, but enough to get people to scramble for some cover. But they're now out, and Mackey, it looks like for the time being, we should have no problem getting this one in, at least for the first couple of hours.
Well, you know, one would hope that we could, you know, get a ball game in. I think a lot of the people that are coming tonight could use a little entertainment, and for $2 they got in the ballpark tonight. you know, $1 of it goes to the you know, the Red Cross. So, you know, I think it's a you know, it's a pretty good deal, and people are going to need it.
All right, let's take a look at the starting lineups.
Leading off for Louisville and playing left field will be DJ Dozer. Batting second at first base, Howard Prager. At second base and batting third, Keith Lockhart. Batting fourth, right fielder Skeets Thomas. Center fielder Van Snyder bats fifth. Stan Royer bats sixth and plays third base. Ed Fulton is behind the plate batting seventh. Ben Figueroa at the shortstop batting eighth. Batting ninth, the pitcher, Paul Anderson. For Iowa, Fernando Ramsey will lead off and be in center field. Phil Dolphin will be in left field batting second. Tommy Shields at shortstop batting third. Batting fourth is Eddie Zambrano, the right fielder. Batting fifth and playing third base, Craig Worthington. Catching and batting sixth, Matt Walbeck. At first base, batting seventh is Matt Franco. Batting eighth at second base, Greg Lonegro. And pitching and batting ninth, Steve Traxel.
Well, Mackie, you recall this whole mess began the last time we were on the air on Thursday, July the 8th, the last time the Cubs were home. The game ended prematurely because of a tornado warning, and it's been downhill as far as the weather is concerned ever since.
Well, if we started it, maybe we can end it tonight.
Well, I would certainly agree with that. Let's take a look at the standings. We mentioned 3.5, the important figure for both the Cubs and the Redbirds. And we'll take a further look at the standings in a moment, but right now it is time for Jody Schlafler to sing our national anthem.
You see by the dawn what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Iowa and Louisville preparing to square off. We were talking about the standings. As you saw, Nashville leading in the Eastern Division by 3.5 over the Redbirds, who are very much in it. The Iowa Cubs 3.5 games ahead of the Omaha Royals, and now suddenly New Orleans is back in the picture, just 4.5 games out. Let's take a look at the defense for the Iowa Cubs tonight. The newcomer will be the left fielder, Phil Dolphin. It will be Fernando Ramsey and Eddie Zambrano rounding out the outfield. Worthington, Shields, Lonegro, and Franco on the infield. Walbeck will be behind the plate, and Traxel will be on the mound. The first pitch tonight thrown out very appropriately by Brigadier General Harold Thompson, the Deputy Adjutant General of the Iowa National Guard. And certainly the National Guard and the Iowa National Guard specifically have made major contributions to the recovery from the flood. Let's take a look at the umpires. That's Benny Walton you take a look at right there. He'll be behind home plate. Lee Prujean will be the first base umpire, and Chris Jones the third. Mackie, a couple of long nights for the Iowa Cubs. They got one run in each of the last two ball games at Indianapolis, so they're looking to start hitting the ball a bit better.
Yeah, I think you need to see a little offense from the Iowa Cubs. That, you know, that's one of the things that is going to be a little under the microscope right now, is that Iowa's offense, you know, a lot of veterans are not here, so the young guys have got to jump in and be able to play AAA ball right now. There you see the game conditions, 75 degrees. The humidity is a muggy 81%. Wind is out of the east at 9 miles an hour under a cloudy sky, and there is a threat of rain like we need it.
And you see the river beyond the outfield fence still very, very high.
Well, let's keep it
At least
beyond,
it's in its banks.
Let's keep it beyond the outfield fence, too.
It certainly wasn't there the last time that we took a look at situations, as you saw that pregame tape prior to the ball game and what the Iowa grounds crew had to overcome. Not only that, there were also some problems here inside the stadium. It wasn't just in the field, also some damage to the locker rooms, a couple of novelty stores in the storage area. And so for that reason and the fact that the outfield was covered, players arrived today on their trip from Indianapolis and immediately got some tetanus shots.
Yeah, and I think I had mine last Friday. I got my tetanus shot, but if you'd have taken a look at that picture we showed there underneath the bridge, there was a door there that was halfway up on water. Well, at our game on the 8th of July, the water was 2 feet under the latch of that door. That was what we were using as a water level mark. So obviously it went much higher than that in the last week and a half.
But things are on the mend, and so settle back and enjoy some baseball tonight and try to forget some of the difficulties of the last couple of weeks, if that's possible. DJ Dozier, former Penn State football star and NFL player, stands in, and the first pitch is a swing and a miss for strike one. Traxel is 8-3, making his 18th start of the year. This is his 19th appearance. He's 2-1 against the Redbirds. Beat him last Sunday by a score of 7-1. The 0-1 pitch to Dozier, and it's a ball, and the count is even up at a ball and a strike. Dozier just came over to Louisville on July the 8th. He had been in the Padres organization at Las Vegas, but when Ozzie Canseco decided to prematurely end his career and retire, the Redbirds needed an outfielder, and Dozier's the guy they got. They traded a pitcher for him, a pitcher by the name of Fidel Compras.
Gee, that's a shame because Iowa did so well against Compras.
Yes, he was the guy who balked home a winning run for the Cubs.
Absolutely.
And may have hastened his departure from the Cardinal chain, you think? Steve Traxel behind in the count, but normally a guy with terrific control. 82 strikeouts and just 26 base on balls yielded so far this year. And Dozier takes a cut and a miss. 2 balls and 2 strikes to DJ Dozier, batting 195. This is just his 12th ball game at Louisville after coming over from Las Vegas. Minnesota Vikings made him their first-round draft pick, the 14th pick overall in the 1987 NFL Draft. Luke to right, giving chase is Matt Franco, but not going to have room. And the count holds at 2 balls and 2 strikes on Dozier. For the Redbirds tonight, the first of a 6-game road trip. They're in the middle of a 19-game in 2019 home game and 25-game stretch. On the other hand, Mackey, for the Iowa Cubs, they're in the middle of playing 21 of 29 on the road. They just happen to be home for the 7-game stretch, and then they're right back out of town.
Yeah, it's 7 games, but it happens in 6 days. And
Dozier hits this one deep to left field and is way back there, and that ball will be out of here. DJ Dozier, who didn't even look like he swung it that hard, parks at the wrong side of the fence.
Tell you what, that ball just carried, and flew out of here. And does something look familiar? Iowa's behind, and they haven't even had the chance to bat yet. That's you know, that's been a real big problem with Iowa, is the fact that you know, when they've gone into this little funk, and then you get another look at it, this ball just kind of flies out of here. But they've gotten themselves behind before they've even had a chance to bat.
Howard Prager shortens up and takes strike one. He's also fairly new to the Redbirds, just his 25th game at Louisville, and he's hitting .240. Opened the season at Arkansas and hit .316, earning a promotion to Louisville on July the 21st. And he loops this one into right field, just past the outstretched glove of Greg Lonegro, and it's a base hit. 2 up and 2 on. One with a home run and one with a bloop single to right.
Well, this is one of those, we get another look at it. The pitch is a little bit in. He gets him off the fist, but Prager's got enough on the ball with the bat that he gets it just over the diving Lonegro there at second base. But, you know, this is not a good sign, because Iowa has been having a difficult time coming from behind, especially coming from behind before they've even seen a pitch.
Here's the starting third baseman for the National League affiliates in the All-Star game, Keith Lockhart, at the plate as you look at a struggling Steve Traxel. Lockhart 6th in the league in hitting at .317. If Traxel hurries, it could be 2. As it turns out, it's not going to be anybody. Error on the pitcher. Traxel may have been in too much of a hurry. A slow hit ball, and he was going to have to hustle to make the play at second base, and as a result, he wound up with nobody.
Well, right there is where he makes the play, and they definitely have the double play, I think, probably turned because that's a good, everyone's all set up, and all he's got to do is fire it to second base and over to first, and they've got their double play. As it is, he's got a mess out there.
And Bill Early comes out to try to straighten it out, the Iowa pitching coach, talking to Steve Traxel. Now, it's an interesting thing about Traxel. We mentioned he was 7-0 and has struggled lately. Last year, he was 8-3 at Charlotte, but wound up 13-8. So he's really got to be able to put 2 halves of the season together, and that's something the youngster's still struggling with.
Bill Early's done talking to him. I'm sure he's, you know, reminding him everything that went on in the pregame meeting, going over the hitters and, you know, what you need to do to get them out. And obviously, you're not doing that right now.
So the cleanup man for the Redbirds, Skeets Thomas, steps in just off the disabled list after being hit in the arm with a baseball on a pitch. Former South Carolina football player. And he belts this ball hard, and it's going to be foul. Just outside the line. If that one is fair, then the Redbirds probably get 2 more runs out of it.
Well, Lockhart was so far around second base that he would have definitely scored. Tell you what, that ball's just served up there. There's nothing on it. It's flat. And fortunately, you know, it lands a foot to the left of the foul line.
Traxel not an overpowering pitcher anyway. A mid-80s fastball. A forkball is really his best pitch. Has a good split finger fastball. But tonight, you're right, so far hasn't really shown anything. No real muster on the ball at all. Thomas takes a cut and a miss, and Walbeck makes a nice stop.
The only thing worse than his pitching right now has been his fielding.
What could have been a double play, turns out runners at first and second, nobody out. 1 run already in, and an 0-2 count on Thomas. Thomas playing his first year of AAA baseball. Signed by the Cardinals out of South Carolina in 1990. And he just gets a piece of it, and it's still no balls and 2 strikes. Last Sunday at Louisville, Traxel did not give up a run in 6 innings against the Redbirds en route to that 7-1 victory. Gave up 4 hits, struck out 4, walked 1.
Threw a good ball game. I mean, he, I can't remember how many exactly, but retired quite a few in a row in that ball game.
And it is inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The sun out earlier this afternoon. Had been behind clouds for a few hours, but now it makes another appearance. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Thomas played at Arkansas all of last year. As you take a look at the runners, Prager at second and Lockhart at first. Down on strikes goes Thomas. First down of the ball game.
Your attention, please. We need a U.S. West representative.
And Van Snyder, just off the disabled list, comes on.
To the press box.
Snyder had been out with a strained right shoulder.
Fielder number 25, Van
Comes in batting .234 with 9 homers and 39 runs batted in. 2 on, 1 out, top of the first. A leadoff homer by Dozier's, giving the Redbirds a 1-0 lead.
Tell you what makes that error by Traxel even more important. You can't assume a double play, but you have the feeling they would have turned a double play. Now they'd have been out of the inning. As it is, they still got 2 outs to go.
And Snyder, a veteran at the plate, fouls it back to the screen. He's played in the Kansas City, Cincinnati, Boston, and New York organizations prior to joining the Cardinal organization. Originally signed with Kansas City, and in fact his plate in this ballpark was with Omaha in '86 and '87. Came through here with Nashville in '88 and '89. But he's been around. Last year was with Pawtucket. And Traxel now making a nice recovery. Fans Thomas and is ahead of Snyder 1-2.
Bill Early, when he went out there, must have reminded Steve what he needed to do, because since that conversation, you've seen a different Traxel.
Making Early look good so far. 1-2 pitch, and he gets Snyder to chase one outside the strike zone for the second consecutive strikeout by Steve Traxel.
Take a look at this. This pitch is way outside, but it moves out there, and Snyder just looks terrible at the plate, but that's good. That's good for the I-Cubs.
The bad news for the I-Cubs is that the man at the plate now, Stan Royer, has worn him out this year. 276 against the league, 328 against the Cubs, has 11 homers overall, 5 of them against the Cubs, including 2 in one game back in the opening series of the year. Steve Royer, a mainstay with Louisville last year, rewarded for that with a 13-game stint with the Cardinals in September, and he hit .323 there. Two balls, no strikes. So even though Traxel has come back to retire 2 in a row, he's got a tough out at the plate in Stan Royer. The right-hander hits the corner, and it's 2-1. Prager and Lockhart lead from second and first respectively. The 2-1 pitch ripped to the screen, still 2-2.
Well, if Traxel gets Royer here, it will be yeoman's duty, because what he's done with his air is basically give Louisville 5 outs in this inning, because by blowing the double play, they you know, that was 2 outs right there they should have had. They've got 2 already. That's 4, and hopefully they'll get the 5th.
And there it is.
Boy, he did change 3 strikeouts in a row.
He gives up a homer, a single, makes an error. Bill Early, the pitching coach, comes out of the dugout and he fans the next 3. So you're thinking, why didn't Bill tell him those things before the ball game started?
I think he probably did. Look at this pitch. This is a good pitch. Goes up and out away from Royer, and you know, he couldn't have reached it if he had an oar out there.
Well, it's 1 run, 2 hits, 1 Iowa error, and 2 left on base. And after a half an inning, the Redbirds have got 1. The Iowa Cubs are coming up. Tonight for Iowa, game number 100 this year. The Cubs have won 57 and lost 42. And of course, last year, such a long year for the Iowa Cubs when they won very, very few ball games. This is really a great improvement over where they were a year ago. Last year, after 100 ball games, they were 39 and 61. Tonight, they will be no worse than 57 and 43, and perhaps 58 and 42 after 100 games. Big difference in 1 year.
Well, yeah, it's, you know, the one thing that's easy to remember is that last year they lose 92 in 92.
That's true. Take a look at the defense for the Louisville Redbirds. Dozier, Snyder, and Thomas make up the outfield. A veteran infield. Royer and Figueroa have been around before. A veteran left side of the infield. The right side, though, Lockhart and Prager in their first year with Louisville. Ed Fulton behind the plate. And Paul Anderson will be on the mound. Just his 3rd game in AAA, including last Sunday's 7-1 loss to the Iowa Cubs. He got called up from Arkansas earlier this year. In fact, it was on July the 7th that Paul Anderson was promoted to AAA for the first time. Camera doesn't lie. He's a big guy, 6'4", 215 pounds, out of San Diego, California. Last year had a fine year in the Texas League at Arkansas. He didn't have a very good one-loss record at 4-11. However, he had the third lowest base on ball per 9-inning ratio in the Texas League, and he had at one time 4 starts in a row without giving up a walk. So, like Steve Traxel, Paul Anderson is known for his control.
Has good control, absolutely. When when your walk to strikeout ratio is that good, and especially the amount of walks that you do not give up, obviously he's got control. Now, from an Iowa standpoint, hopefully he's got enough control that Iowa can put their bat on the ball. But this guy's not going to strike out a lot of people, and he's not going to help you with the walk, so you're going to have to earn your base hits up there.
Fernando Ramsey opens things up for the Iowa Cubs, who are really delighted to be home after being on the road since July the 8th, and that was just the way the schedule was written. That had nothing to do with the flood. During that 13-game road trip, the Cubs won 7 and lost 6, but runs were hard to come by, as we mentioned a moment ago. Only 3 times in that 13-game trip did they score more than 3 runs in a ball game. Anderson throws hard and low this time, and it's 1-1. Ramsey leading the team in games played. Tonight he's in his 95th. He also leads the team in hits with 102. By the way, Mackey mentioned it earlier. Only cost $2 to get in tonight to the ball game, and half that goes to the flood relief effort of the American Red Cross, and it looks like the rain's going to hold off for the duration of the night. So come on out and see this ball team in person. Right through the middle by Ramsey and into center field for a base hit. Ramsey is on with his 103rd hit of the year.
This ball's right up the middle. That's what Fernando, that's what you try to do when you're up there, especially with somebody that's big and throws that hard, is just try to drive it back up the middle. And that's what exactly Fernando did. This next batter, Phil Dolphin, you and I are going to see him for the first time.
And he's seeing Sec Taylor Stadium for the first time, as he was recently promoted from Orlando while the Cubs were on the road. In fact, there were a lot of changes in the roster while the Cubs were on the road. We'll talk about them as the evening wears on. Dolphin, a pretty bright prospect, the 9th round pick of the Cubs in the 1990 June draft. Solid .254 at Charlotte last year in Double-A. And this year was hitting .264 at Iowa's new Double-A affiliate in Orlando. He had 11 homers and 35 runs batted in at Orlando. So far for Iowa, 1 homer, and that against the Redbirds. And this just his 9th game as an I-Cub. Of course, Ramsey with terrific speed on at first base, but Mackey has not done a great job stealing bases this year. Just 10 out of 21 as Marv Foley flashes the signs.
Yeah, he's his base stealing. That's one of the things that you hope to get out of your leadoff man is, number 1, that he gets on base, and number 2, that he's able to steal a base. And that hasn't happened, that base stealing.
And what must be so frustrating to the Cubs staff is he has got as good a speed as anybody in the league.
Well, he's got world-class speed, but if you remember many years ago, a fellow by the name of Claudell Washington also had world-class speed, got into a World Series game and was immediately picked off. Doesn't, just because you can run doesn't mean you can steal a base.
But the mystery about Ramsey is that he did last year. Last year he stole 39.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like he's trying to steal bases this year. And I don't know whether that's something that Marv Foley doesn't want him to do. I can't imagine that not being the case. But that's one thing.
Well, he's going to try to steal one here, but it's fouled off.
Yeah, it looks like the hit and run was on that in that situation. But there's a lot of things that you can coach, but one thing you can't coach is speed, and Fernando's got that.
Yeah, that's the difficult part of the equation for a lot of guys.
I mean, the reason I'm not playing big league baseball was speed. Well, size and ability had a lot to do with it too,
but speed was one of those factors.
There was just 3 things that kept me out of playing professional baseball: size, speed, and ability.
Ramsey is getting a good lead against Anderson. The 3-2 pitch for Dolphin is on the way. And it's popped to left. Dozier on the run towards the foul line. Will he have room? Yep, he will. And Ramsey bluffs, tagging and going to second, but retreats to first. 1 out in the first inning. And Tommy Shields will come to the plate.
Not really a good at bat for Phil Dolphin that time. What he needed to do is somehow get Ramsey over to second base.
Shields batting .272. Coming off a good road trip, hit .280 on the just completed 13-game trip, 14 for 50 with 3 stolen bases. Shields played in the Baltimore organization last year.
Boy, he even throws hard over to first base.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? All right, Prager, the Redbird first baseman. Ramsey runs with a pitch. It's taken for a ball. Here's the throw right on the money, but not in time. Good throw by Fulton, but Ramsey just got too good a jump.
He had a great jump on that stolen base, and I mean, he's on the fly right now. Fulton does get a good throw, but Fernando has got a great jump, and he's there easily at second.
His 11th stolen base.
Well, he's even up on stolen bases and getting caught. He's 11 stolen and 11 caught.
He's reached the 500 mark.
Now, if he were catcher, that'd be a great statistic.
Yes, it would. And Shields hits it just foul to the Cubs bullpen. Chris Jones, the third base umpire, on the call. Shields, of course, opened this year in Chicago until Ryan Sandberg came off the disabled list. He had a terrific spring in Arizona. He hit .352 for the Chicago Cubs this spring. And a fastball is on the inside corner, 1-2. Tough pitch by Anderson.
Even tougher for Shields to hit.
Wasn't sure that it was going to nip the plate, but it did on the inside part, and there was no way that Shields could have pulled the trigger on it. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, this is the situation now. 2-2, 1 out, runner at second. Iowa's behind 1-0. This really is an inning they need to get a run. At least get back to even.
And it doesn't take much of a hit for Ramsey to move. He was running on the pitch, so was able to take third as the ball is thrown to first baseman Prager, who digs it out of the dirt for the second out. And Ramsey, because he was running with the pitch, is on to third with 2 down.
And I'm not so sure he wouldn't have had third base stolen easy.
No, I think so.
Yeah, because he had another big jump. Of course, you know, base runners, good base stealers out there will tell you that third base is actually easier to steal than second, because you get such a good walking lead that most of the times when you're on second, the pitcher ignores you.
And with a right-handed hitter up there, it's tougher for the catcher to make that throw to third.
Tough throw. He's got to get up and over him.
Eddie Zambrano having a terrific year, but is in the midst of a mini slump. Just 1 hit in his last 16 at-bats. His .308 average, 8th best in the league. His 19 homers, tied for 4th in the league. And his 69 runs batted in are 3rd best in the league. One and one. And if Zambrano can come up with a base hit here, he will have RBI number 70 and could tie the ball game. 1-0 Redbirds, bottom of the first. 1-2 the count. Boy, Anderson has been throwing hard. Really took something off on that pitch.
Yeah. If he threw the last one at 90, this one came in about 70. And
wow.
Eddie was sure looking for that 90 again.
And this ball is hit to left center field and well hit, but with room is Van Snyder to make the grab, and the side is retired. So the Cubs get their leadoff man on, can't bring him around. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left, and after 1, the Redbirds have the lead. Back at Sec Taylor Stadium with Dick McDonald, this is Larry Morgan. Louisville, managed by Jack Kroll in his 40th year of baseball, the 2nd year for the Redbirds. Had a tough year, had to take a week off when a cancerous growth was removed from his tongue. He said he used to smoke as much as 2.5 packs a day, gave up smoking, went to chewing, and had a half dollar-sized growth removed from his tongue on June 15th. Ironically, Mackey, that's the same date the ban about not chewing tobacco in minor league baseball went into effect. And Jack Kroll is very much a advocate of that, as now he's gone to sunflower seeds.
Yeah, he does a lot of seeds and a lot of bubble gum now. So with the bubble gum, his teeth will probably rot and fall out. But
it's a better alternative.
That's better.
Yes, it definitely is. Steve Traxel on the mound for Iowa. In the first inning, he gave up a leadoff home run to Dozier, a single, and then he committed an error and then came back to fan the next 3 Redbird hitters. And Fulton is the Louisville catcher. And it's a strike on the outside corner. Fulton at Florida State University. Last year, he had .364 against the Iowa Cubs in 7 games. This year, though, the Cubs have held him in check, just 1 for 7. Fulton is down on strikes, and Traxel has struck out 4 in a row.
Well, whatever Bill Early said to him, I think Bill ought to keep reminding him of that, because it worked. This pitch goes down and in. Boy, that's a tough pitch. Inside corner, up high, about waist high on it, and that just is a tough pitch to when that ball's moving in at you.
He came in with 82 strikeouts. He now has 86, and that ties him for 3rd in the league. Nice play by the pulled-in third baseman Worthington to throw out Figueroa, and quickly they're 2 up and 2 down in the Redbirds' 2nd inning. Traxel now with 86 strikeouts, tying Alan Watson of Louisville, but Watson is now in St. Louis, so he's going to be caught very shortly.
It's a pretty good play over there by Worthy. Gets over, he's playing him up on the edge of the grass anyway for Figueroa, because he's got a little quickness and can always put the bunt down, and he has to break to his right, makes the backhand play, and then throws him out at first. Going to have another chance.
First ball hitting, Worthington with a little easier play, this time on to Franco, and it is a quick 1-2-3 inning for Traxel, who's retired 6 in a row since committing the error.
Well, that was 5 pitches, and 3 of them went to the strikeout.
And so we've reached the middle of the 2nd inning with Louisville holding a 1-0 lead. By the way, talking about strikeouts, Bill Brennan of Iowa leads the league with 112. Ross Powell, who beat the Iowa Cubs 2 nights ago for Indianapolis, has 93, and Traxel's now moved into 3rd with 86. And we are just underway in this one as we go to the last of the 2nd. The Texas Rangers welcome the world champion Toronto Blue Jays to Arlington Stadium on Sunday's ESPN telecast. John Miller and Joe Morgan have all the action in this American League battle Sunday night beginning at 7 right here on ESPN. In the last of the 2nd, Craig Worthington, Matt Walbeck, and Matt Franco will come up against Paul Anderson. Anderson, the Redbird pitcher, just his 3rd AAA outing. And a good crowd has gathered. And Mackey, you were talking about it earlier. I think people have missed baseball, and because of the flood, even though this was the normal length of time the Iowa Cubs were due to be gone, it just seems like forever since people have been able to go out and enjoy a baseball game.
Well, it really has, and you know, all the hardships that the people of Des Moines, and in particular, you know, some of the people have really not only lost water, but they've unfortunately have gained water and lost a lot of possessions, and it's just one of those things that, you know, it'd be nice just to get away from it for 2 or 3 hours. And like I say, I think it's a nice crowd out here tonight, and you know, it kind of takes your mind away from what we've been going through for these last 2 weeks.
Another big crowd expected tomorrow night, and then on Sunday a 6 o'clock ball game. If you haven't seen Turk Wendell in person, he's the scheduled starter on Sunday night. Then Indianapolis comes in for a doubleheader Monday, single games Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the Cubs are back out on the road again for 9 games. As we mentioned, they're in the midst of a stretch of 21 road games of the 29 that they're playing. And of course, you still see the sandbags on the bridge as Des Moines slowly recovers. Unfortunately, some more heavy rain scheduled for later on tonight, but if we can get through this, hopefully things will start getting better. And certainly with people getting their water back, things have improved a lot.
Tell you what, I'm not a big Dan Rather fan, but I think his analogy of what we've gone through was pretty good. He was saying that, you know, in the hurricane down in Florida, in Homestead, Florida, he says that you know, that's very similar to a cobra bite. But he says what we're having here is what a python does to you. It's just a slow twisting and turning.
Boy, that's been the frustrating thing, too. You're right. It's not like a quick hitter and then you start recovering.
You know, everybody in Iowa, you know, that we're used to not having electricity. I mean, we get a electrical storm or a windstorm or an ice storm, something like that, and we lose electricity. But we're not used to not being without water.
Craig Worthington leading off the second for Iowa. The Cubs down a run, and he takes ball one. Worthington coming in batting .266 has put together a solid year at third base for the Iowa Cubs. Been hitting basically in the 265 to 275 range most of the season. Has 13 home runs, 46 runs batted in. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count to the Iowa third baseman. It has also did a good job in the field. Worthington takes outside, 2-2. Cubs back home where they are 28-19. Their road record 29-23. This game number 100. Bien Figueroa, the veteran Redbird shortstop, gobbles it up. Bit of a high throw, but it's pulled down by Prager, and there's one out in the second.
Catcher number 12.
Matt Walbeck comes to the plate. He's really hitting well lately as we take a look at the last ground out.
Well, you see it's a routine grounder. In this case, Figueroa a little high on the throw, but Prager does hang on to first base for the out.
Walbeck coming off a road trip in which he hit .348, 8 homers and 8 hits and 23 at bats. And Mackey, every day that you see Matt Walbeck, I think you just solidified with the thought that he's going to be a major leaguer, and not too long from now.
Well, and you know that's the good news. The bad news is, take a look at what Wilkie's doing up there with Chicago right now. But you know, Wilkie being strictly a left-handed batter, you've got Walbeck down here who's a switch hitter. But I'll tell you what, George Pedre is playing awfully well behind the plate. Defensively, you can't ask for a better pair of catchers than what Iowa's got right now.
And they really complement each other well. They work together. They like each other, and it really has given Iowa, I'm sure, the best catching core in the American Association.
Be perfectly honest, George Pedre, with what he's done this year, you know, down the road, should he not make it to the big leagues, he would be a prime candidate to be a tremendous catching coach.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Walbeck. Walbeck, the 8th selection of the Chicago Cubs in the 1987 June draft. He was last year's organization AA Player of the Year. Goes after a strike. Little trouble by Fulton recovering, but he finally finds it in time to throw out Walbeck. And that's the first strikeout by Paul Anderson.
Yeah, and he got a lot of help from Wally on that one. That was not a very good pitch. This pitch is way down in the dirt, and you know, there's no way that Fulton could have made that catch. I mean, it didn't even get to him on the fly, but there you see the put out over to first base.
In fact, if there are base runners, that's a candidate for a wild pitch.
Oh, you know, that's a great stop by Fulton behind the plate.
Here's Matt Franco batting .268 in his first AAA stint. This is his 26th ball game for the Iowa Cubs. He came up from Orlando where he was hitting .316 with 7 home runs and 37 runs batted in. Matt, of course, is Iowa's Hollywood connection.
Yeah, Kurt Russell's his uncle. And Kurt Russell, from what I'm led to believe, sometime before the season's over with, probably will come in here and watch him play.
And if he has his way, from what I'm led to believe, nobody will know about it.
Yeah, he kind of wants to be indiscreetly watch the ball game and not be swarmed by autograph seekers.
Well, Matt's uncle Kurt was a minor league ball player in the Angels system before he tore a rotator cuff. But I guess he found another line of work that suited him pretty well. Look to right center field. Calling forward is Skeets Thomas, and he makes the grab, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for the Cubs in the second. Nothing across. And 2 innings have been played at Sec Taylor Stadium as the Iowa Cubs begin this 7-game homestand, and the score is Louisville 1 and Iowa 0. The river continues to flow, but drop ever so gradually here at Sec Taylor Stadium.
See those boards there? I think those are part of the docks from Berlin Lagoon that came down here. But that river is back where somewhat it belongs.
Yeah, it's nice to see some daylight between the street and the river again, isn't it?
A little grass and dirt between it.
And it's nice that the Iowa Cubs are back at Sec Taylor Stadium, where they trail 1-0 going to the top of the third, and the Redbirds send up the top of the order. DJ Dozier, who accounted for the only run in the ball game with a high towering home run to left center field. And that was his second home run of the year for Louisville. We mentioned he just joined this ball club. This is his 12th ball game after coming over in a trade from Las Vegas, the Padres' top farm club. Of course, Dozier, an outstanding running back for Joe Paterno at Penn State, played with the Minnesota Vikings for 4 years, the Lions for 1, then decided he would concentrate on baseball. He did not go to professional baseball originally. He was not like a Deion Sanders or a Bo Jackson. Wasn't trying to do both at the beginning. He played with the Vikings for 3 years before he signed with the Mets in 1990. So he had just actually just 2 dual seasons. And he didn't really play very much his last 2 years in the NFL. Traxel ahead in the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, I'll tell you what, the first 2 batters that Traxel faced in this ball game, they better enjoy it, because right now there's a different Steve Traxel on the mound. This is the one that this Steve Traxel is that bright prospect.
And there is strikeout number 5 for Steve Traxel. And he has recorded only 7 outs, and 5 of them are strikeouts, and the other 2 are groundouts. 87 strikeouts on the season now for Traxel. Howard Prager comes on. He blooped a single to right field his first time up. Ball 1. Prager originally signed with the Astros. This is his second year. I should say his first year in the Cardinal organization. He was with the Astros organization from '89 to '92. Never got above AA. Hit to left field, long run for Dauphin, still going, and he's going to have to play it off the fence, and it bounces way beyond him. On his way to second base is Prager, and he's going to hold up there. Good recovery by Dauphin.
Yeah, it was played poorly, but that's the first time he's played in left field. And that's the first ball that was been hit to him out there. So it wasn't played real well by Phil Dauphin out in left field, but he did recover. I mean, it's going to be a double anyway. That's where Prager's at, is at second base. But I think the wall came up on Dauphin real quick. And like I say, he's not played that position there.
Yeah, I was thinking obvious double, but you were thinking maybe 3. The ball came back so far, but a good recovery by Dauphin to hold Prager to a double, and that's his 4th double of the year. And here's Keith Lockhart. Lockhart ironed by an error his first time up. And the Redbirds come up first ball hitting against Traxel. They know he's a guy who throws a lot of strikes, and they come up swinging.
If he gets in, ahead, I like his side of it, Traxel's.
Prager leading from second. And Lockhart gets just a piece of it. Lockhart, a veteran of the American Association, played with Nashville from '89 to '91. Spent last year in the A's AAA farm club at Tacoma and hit .278. Cardinals got him as a free agent, and this is far and away his best AAA season, and this is his 5th year in AAA. Breeze blowing out left field, and all it is a breeze. The 0-2 pitch, and it's ball 1. It's funny, Mackey, this Louisville ball club used to mirror the Cardinals. Used to be a pitching and a defense and a speed ball club. They're still a pitching ball club, best in the league in pitching, but right now they are last in the league in stolen bases. They have stolen only 29 bases this year. That's a change.
Suck. They, all they had was a bunch of slap hitters that put the ball in play there at Busch Stadium and then just beat everything out and start stealing bases on you. But, that's fine, but you've got to do that elsewhere.
Prager around third being waved home. He will score as it's a 2-0 ball game on the RBI single to right by Keith Lockhart. Lockhart's 48th RBI this year.
Take a look at this. This is just a little AT&T. He just reached out and touched it and flipped it out into right field. Didn't have much on it, but it's enough to score the runner from second.
And you see the deep ruts in the outfield. That, of course, where a lot of the water had gathered, and it is slow going in the outfield.
Yeah, it's still awful wet in the corners, and that's probably the worst corners down in right field.
Lockhart hasn't stolen a base this year, and yet Traxel wants to keep him close. Ball one to Thomas. Thomas hitting .333 against the Iowa Cubs this year, although .285 overall against the league. And it's hit to third, could be two. There's one. The other is right there. 5-4-3. Worthington to Lonegro to Franco. And the Cubs are out of the inning. Redbirds get one run on 2 base hits, leave nobody, and a nice double play turned by the Iowa infield, Mackey.
I'll tell you what, Lonegro did a nice job on the pivot there at second base to get the ball and get rid of it, because it's not really a rocket that's hit down to Worthington at third base, so they had the work cut out for him. You get another look at this. I mean, the ball's over to third. There you see the throw. Now there's a good pivot right there to get rid of the ball and get it over to the first to turn the double play.
Greg Lonegro in the middle of that doing a nice job. Big Frank Thomas and the Chicago White Sox tangle with their neighbors to the north, the Milwaukee Brewers, tomorrow night on WGN. Game time is 6 o'clock. So join Ken Harrelson and Tom Paciorek for White Sox baseball on WGN and TCI. Cubs now need 2 to draw even. They trail 2-0 as we go to the last of the third. Lonegro to lead it off, followed by Steve Traxel, and then back to the top of the batting order for Fernando Ramsey. Just talking a little bit more, Mackey, about the Cardinals and their philosophical changes. This really, this Louisville ball club even is more of a power ball club than we've seen in Louisville in the last couple of years. They've already hit 103 home runs, but again, 29 stolen bases. I think Vince Coleman used to steal those in a month when he was here.
Well, at least, in a game he could do that much, but I think one of the things that they learned in St. Louis is that, it's nice to have your ball club be able to take advantage of the home field. In this case, the quick turf and the big ballpark that they have down in Busch Stadium. But you only play 81 games there. You've got to take 81 of those games. You're on the road, and the way you play may not be the same as or may not adapt to the other fields that you play on. There's Sebra.
Bob Sebra, you remember him? He pitched at Iowa last year. He's put together a pretty nice year. He is in the top 10 in earned run average in the American Association this year.
And as the old saying goes, Bob Sebra ain't right.
And you know what? They got another guy, Steve Dixon, out of their bullpen, who's far away from being what we would consider an average, normal kind of guy.
Oh, he's nuts.
Those two together must really be something. Greg Lonegro opens things up for the Iowa Cubs in the third with Traxel and Ramsey to follow. Lonegro opened this season at Iowa, but then on April the 29th, when Tommy Shields got sent down, he got sent down to Double-A. Lonegro, who's just turned that nice pivot on the double play, comes on for his 16th game with the Cubs. Nice pickup by Royer.
Boy,
1 out.
That was either die or die down there on that play.
Please, Kevin Loyette. To the Cubs office, please, Kevin Loyette.
Get another look at this. Take some quick hands over there. Doink, boom. There, he's got it.
Steve Traxel comes on. Former second-team All-American out of Long Beach State. As you see, a pretty good hitter. Strike one. At 278, it's more than pretty good.
That's awful good. You know, think about all the people in the big leagues that are making millions hitting 278.
5 hits and 18 at-bats. Down to Paul Anderson here, 0-2. Anderson allowed a leadoff single to Fernando Ramsey, and nobody's touched him since. And Traxel doesn't either, and it's the second strikeout by Paul Anderson. Quickly, 2 gone on the third.
I think that might have been an inflated 278.
Center fielder, number 5, Fernando Ramsey.
So 8 in a row put down by Paul Anderson since this guy, Fernando Ramsey, opened things up with a single to center. And then stole his 11th base of the year. '27-year-old Panamanian Fernando Ramsey. Strike one. The shortstop Figueroa on the pickup. Throws out the speedy Ramsey, and it's a 1-2-3 inning, and now 9 in a row put down by Anderson since Ramsey's leadoff single. And after 3, the Redbirds hold the lead. The score is Louisville 2 and Iowa 0. We've got a double dose of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball for you this weekend on the Iowa Cable Network. See the Cardinals and the Colorado Rockies live from Denver tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and then Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock on your Cardinals Baseball Connection, TCI's Iowa Cable Network. There are a lot of former Iowa Cubs on this roster for the Louisville Redbirds, and one just about to join his teammates in the dugout is a guy who was a real favorite while he was here for a while, catcher Hector Villanueva.
Yeah, Hector just arriving at the ballpark right now and just walking into the dugout. He must have ordered a second helping for dinner, which caused him to be late to the ballpark.
He's no lighter than he was here before, I will say that, as Van Snyder tries to bunt and take strike one.
Hector is, in today's political speak, is horizontally challenged.
To show you what Hector's looking like these days in a couple of minutes. 1 strike, the count on Van Snyder. And the pitch is looped to left field for a base hit. And that's number 5 for the Redbirds, a leadoff single by Snyder in the 4th.
Yeah, Hector was thrilled when he got signed by St. Louis. They told him he was going to the City of the Arches, and he thought he was going to McDonald's. You see a little good piece of hitting by Snyder. The pitch is outside. He doesn't get fancy with it. Just takes it out into left field. Gets the base hit.
Stan Royer, who's worn out the Iowa pitching staff this year, comes on. He has 5 homers against Iowa this year, and is hitting .328 against the Cubs. Redbirds a run in the first, a run in the third against Steve Traxel, have a 2-0 lead, and a good stop by Wahlbeck. Well, you're one of 5 strikeout victims by Steve Traxel so far. Runner goes with a pitch, and it's hit to third. Worthington can't come up with it.
That's a play he's got to make over there.
And for Craig Worthington, it is his 18th error of the year. He far and away leads the Iowa Cubs in that category.
Yeah, take another look at it. I mean, that's a play that he's got to make.
Snyder was moving with the pitch anyway. It was not going to be a double play. But Roy, you're on with the error. So first and second, nobody out for Ed Fulton, who struck out his first time up. Fulton signed by the Cardinals back in '87. And takes a big cut and comes up empty. Fulton, a native of Danville, Virginia, still lives there in the off-season. The Redbirds have just completed a series against Omaha in which they won 3 out of 4, doing the Cubs a favor by knocking off the Royals. Now they're trying to return the favor to Omaha and do some damage to the Iowa Cubs as Iowa comes into tonight's game just 3.5 games ahead of Omaha. And what's New Orleans doing 4.5 back?
Well, I'll tell you what, New Orleans all year has had Iowa's number, and you know that's one of those. You take a look at Oklahoma City. Well, don't worry about them because they're really bad. And you know, all along it's, well, Omaha's right there. Well, that's true, but New Orleans is gradually getting a pretty good team put together.
And for a while, they couldn't beat anybody but Iowa. Slap to the second baseman. Lonegro with one tag and then throws for the second, a double play, and the Cubs have pulled off their second double play, and a nice piece of work by Greg Lonegro.
Pretty good double play. He may not get the double play turned if he has to turn around and throw to shortstop, but right there in front of him is the base runner. Now that's not bad base running, to at least give him time over there to see if you can get Fulton down to first base, but that's a good defensive play by Lonegro.
Snyder taking third on the double play, and here's Bien Figueroa. Snyder doing a little bit of bluffing. Traxel didn't even seem to notice, and it's ball one. There's Jack Kroll, the manager of the Redbirds. Only one other player in Louisville history has played as many games for the franchise as is Figueroa. He is a veteran. And he is out of the inning on a pop-up to Lonegro. So the leadoff man on for the Redbirds, and then an error, and they have their first two guys on, but the double play and an infield pop-up, and Traxel and the Cubs take care of them. For Louisville, no runs, one hit, one Iowa error, and one left on base. We go to the last of the fourth with Louisville on the lead by a score of 2-0, and the Cubs sending Dolphin, Shields, and Zambrano to the plate against Paul Anderson. And there's Hector. Hector Villanueva in 28 ball games for the Redbirds this year, hitting .229. The screen went dark. I figured just Hector walked in front of it for a second. He's big enough to blot out the sun.
Yeah.
So blotting out a TV screen would be nothing for that guy.
There you see the svelte.
They list him at 220. What do you think's accurate?
Well, I'm just short of 7 foot tall then.
And Hector, of course, made a lot of friends here in Des Moines, and he's renewing acquaintances between innings. Of course, he was in the big leagues, and he got displaced with the Cardinals by another former Iowa Cub, Eric Pappas.
Eric Pappas is doing a great job for St. Louis right now. They're playing La Bamba, and Hector's doing a little dance out there. Hector just doesn't care much about anything. He just kind of enjoys life and goes about it. He is a piece of work.
Tell you what, when he puts all that bulk behind a baseball, it can go a long way.
Well, he can lose it. There's no question about it.
Last of the fourth as Dolphin, Shields, and Zambrano come up against Anderson, and they are passing the jug to pick up money for the American Red Cross flood relief effort. I had an opportunity yesterday, Mackie, to ride in one of those vehicles that are going to the areas and serving meals, and people can do that. They can volunteer and call the Red Cross for information. Those people are working awfully hard to help us recover from these terrible floods.
Yeah, they sure are, and you know, there's a lot of people that aren't even from around here that have come in to help.
Right,
and,
I was with some people yesterday from Alabama and Washington, D.C.
You know, we've had some fine people that I've gotten to know through the Grand Prix that have brought truckloads of water and supplies back to Des Moines, and you know, I get a call from the Sunday night that the Grand Prix was canceled, and they said, you know, we feel awful bad about leaving. What can we do? And you know, they just loaded up truckloads of water and brought it back to Des Moines. They've made friends here, and they want to help.
And people are digging deep, and so many people have done so many things. And we mentioned the American Red Cross specifically because they get the proceeds of tonight's ball game. They got $1 from everybody who paid their way into the ballpark tonight, and now the hat being passed for a little bit more.
In fact, to put a little plug in for the Salvation Army too, because we unloaded what was it, Tuesday, we had 2 semis that John Ruan donated that came in from Indianapolis, loaded with water and baby formula and mosquito spray and cleanup supplies and everything, and that was all taken to the Salvation Army, and they're doing a wonderful job too.
And so many are. Fly ball to right field. Pretty well tagged. In fact, it keeps carrying back further and almost to the warning track before Van Snyder runs it down. That ball didn't appear especially well hit, and it, like the home run by Dozier, just kept carrying until Snyder ran it down.
Just kept going out there. You know, it's a little moist out there. Snyder's out there tapping down the spot that he dug up, but often gets a good swing on the ball, and it just keeps carrying out there. Now you see right at the end, Snyder slips a little bit. You know, he's probably wondering, well, you know, why can't this field be in any better shape? Pal, you should have been here about a week ago.
Yes. Shields takes strike one. In fact, the Redbirds had offered their home ballpark for this series, and some of them didn't want to come here, especially when they found out that the team physician in Louisville was recommending a tetanus shot before they came. So they've got him.
Now, Tony Chance had a great comment. You know, tonight these guys were starting to complain about tetanus shot, and he says, "Hey, go over and check all the tattoos they got on it. It's not going to hurt nearly that bad."
Might wonder with the Cubs on the road what happened to their families for the most part with the All-Star break coming up while the Cubs were on the road. It gets away for strike three, and Shields has got a chance, and he will get there. Now, Fulton almost allowed another strikeout victim to reach earlier by mishandling it. That time, he didn't come anywhere close to throwing out Shields, and so on a strikeout, which is ruled a strikeout and a pass ball,
well,
Shields is on.
No, I'd call it a wild pitch. That ball's down in the dirt, so that's a strikeout wild pitch.
Well, you don't see many of those, do you?
Not often.
Shields is on. Although Anderson gets credit for the strikeout. And Eddie Zambrano stands in. Zambrano flew to center his first time up. And he takes a cut and comes up empty for strike one. Eddie, one of Iowa's 2 representatives in the All-Star game, and the only one who remains here because Kevin Roberson's down in the big league. Fulton's throw not in time.
Well, actually, Iowa had 3 because Traxel was a late addition. He didn't get into the game, but he was a late addition. I don't know, one of the pitchers got called up somewhere along the line, and they added Steve Traxel. But you're right, the 2 main at the time that were voted in was Zambrano and Roberson, and I hope folks enjoyed seeing Kevin Roberson when he was here, because the only time he'll be back is if there's an exhibition game.
Yeah, he's gotten off to a nice slow start, but he's certainly made up for it.
Oh, he's quite a player.
Yeah, he's really gifted, no question about it. 1-2 to Zambrano. Cubs down 2-0, last of the 4th. Zambrano can tie it up, though, right here with a big swing, but not this time. He's out on strikes. Second strikeout of the inning, but one of them's on first base, and 4th strikeout of the game for Paul Anderson.
Third baseman, number 38, Greg Worthington.
Greg Worthington comes on. He grounded to shortstop his first time up. Well, suddenly the bottom's just fallen out of the offense. 1 run each of the last 2 nights against an Indianapolis ball club that's 7th in the league in pitching with an earned run average of 4.59. There's a fly ball to left field. Dozier has to hurry. Not going to get there. Shields checks in at third, and it's a 2-out single for Craig Worthington.
Boy, Dozier got a terrible jump on that ball. It was kind of, it looked like he had it was frozen on him, and he couldn't find it. You know, the line drive that comes right at you, which this is what it is, but he's late getting a jump on the ball.
Yeah, he just got started there at the last.
He does do a good job of keeping the ball in front of him, because if it goes by, guaranteed 1 run will score. And Worthington will at least be on second base.
So the tying runs are on with 2 outs in the 4th, and Matt Walbeck, who struck out his last time up, comes on. Walbeck has struggled against the Redbirds this year, just 1 of 18 against Louisville pitching. Ball 1. And again, the other thing, Dozier, he got the slow start, and it's a very slow track once he got going.
Yeah, if he was running out at Prairie Meadows, they'd have an asterisk behind him for being a mutter.
Shot to right field. Skeets Thomas is there, and the side's retired. Cubs get a couple of base runners, but don't produce anything out of it. No runs, 1 hit. No errors, 2 left. After 4, it's still Louisville on top, 2-0. Louisville 2 at Iowa 0 as we played 4 innings at Sec Taylor Stadium. And you take a look at the Iowa Cubs and, of course, the torrid start. And the big story in AAA, Mackey, is do you keep your team together? We talked about it earlier. When the Cubs were compiling that kind of a record, there have been very few call-ups and really very few injuries. Well, take a look at what's happened since.
Well, one of the things that happened is, quite honestly, Chicago, they're a mess up there, and they were trying to do that. But these are all the new players that have come, and those are all the players that have gone. And those have come and gone.
And the difference is, the list of people who've come, there's just not much AAA experience there. On the other hand, a wealth of experience among some of the AAA players who have gone.
And, you know, quite honestly, most everybody that they've sent up to Chicago has helped them out while they were there.
Paul Anderson, the Redbird pitcher, opens the 5th inning. Takes ball 1 from Steve Traxel, who tonight tries for his 9th win of the year. Would give him the staff lead in victories. Right now he is tied with Blaze Elsley, who also has 8.
And well, Worthy's been busy over
yes,
third base.
Yes, he has. Worthington snares the drive, and so Anderson is the first out in the 5th inning. And now DJ Dozier, whose home run opened the ball game for Louisville, comes to the plate.
It's too bad his last name's not View.
You've been thinking about that one for a while, haven't you?
What is it, Yogi says? DJ Vu all over again.
Yes, one of my favorite of the Yogi lines. I remember the other day I had heard something Casey Stengel once said about when you get to the fork in the road, take it.
Well, there's a story about I forget who the pitcher was on the mound, but Casey Stengel was the manager. Oh my good grief, look at that.
The man's coaching at first base right now, the former Iowa Cub, Hector Villanueva.
But,
I'm sorry, you were about to relate us a tale.
Well, this is Casey Stengel, Yogi Berra, you know, and whoever was pitching for the Yankees was just giving up base hits left and right. So Casey goes to the mound, and Yogi goes out there with him. And Stengel looks at Yogi and he says, "What's he throwing?" And Yogi says, "I don't know, Skip. I ain't caught nothing yet."
1 ball and 2 strikes to Dozier.
Imagine when those two got together, the conversation went on.
I can't imagine no one else who would understand, but they probably understood each other perfectly.
Oh, you know, whatever he's saying, I understand it, but any outsider would just have to shake their head and walk away.
You know, as a later day Casey Stengel is Sparky Anderson. He says some things that don't make a lot of sense.
Andy Van Slyke can come up with some stuff off the wall, too.
I guess. 2-2, the count on Dozier. And the first base umpire, Lee Prejean, indicates that he did not go around, and so the count's now full at 3-2. Dozier's 6 foot, 205 pounds. Very well put together. Turns 28 years old this fall.
Tell you what, Hector's down there talking to the umpire. He's 30 feet away from the coaching box, and he's down there just carrying on a conversation with Lee Prejean down at first base.
Well, he's got to wait till he gets a base runner before he can do some real coaching.
If you see that as an ad now, which health spa would you go to? That got it.
Down on strikes is Dozier, and I have no idea why he didn't pull the trigger, Mackey. That was over to the heart of the plate.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it was a real off speed, and it just absolutely had him confused.
And that is Traxel's 6th strikeout, and he's got Dozier for the 2nd time.
It's an off-speed pitch, down and in, and you know, it's just one of those. He's looking for something else, and there's no way he can pull the trigger.
I wonder if that was his fork ball.
It very could have been, because it went down and in.
Yeah.
It very well could have been.
Might have been. Hart Prager, a single and a double halfway to the cycle. Takes ball one. Prager, left-handed batter, but he hit one against the left field fence for that double in the third.
I think Hector's trying to distract the Lee Prejean down there. He's just carried on a conversation with the umpire.
Hector's just glad to see people. I think he's been lonely. Might not know too many people in Louisville.
Well, yeah, everybody got up from the dinner table and came to the ballpark and left him there. That's why he just got here.
I wonder if there's a game jersey on under that. I wonder if Hector plans to be a participant tonight.
Oh, I think not. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is going on during the game. They just sit there talking. Lee's got to be telling him, you know, I got work to do out here. You know, you just stand here.
He's about a length of a coaching box away from the coaching box.
Yeah.
You take Sebra and Ed Dixon and Villanueva, this Louisville group might be fun to travel with. 3-1 to Prager. 2 outs, nobody on, top of the 5th. Hector is having this extended conversation at first base with Lee Prejean. He only turns his head for the pitch, and then it's right back to whatever it is these two guys are talking about. Again, Traxel, a full count pitch to Prager, and Lonegro gobbles it up. A 1-2-3 inning for Traxel and the Cubs. The Traxel now appears to be back on beam on the mound, but the Cubs offense is not yet. They've scored only 2 runs in the last 2 nights, 1 in each, and they've got none so far tonight. But Franco, Lonegro, and Traxel, the lower third in the order, will try to do something about that when Iowa comes to the plate in the last of the 5th. Redbirds on top by a score of 2-0. In this homestand just getting underway, tomorrow Jim Bullinger gets a starting call against the Redbirds at 7 o'clock, and rather at 7:30, then at 6 o'clock on Sunday. Turk Wendell will be on the mound. Let's talk about Bullinger as a starter. What's the story?
Well, it's Stevens. Boy, I got to find his name, because I'll tell you what, these guys are, they're all new here. But Dave Stevens is now the closer. He was the closer down in Orlando. They brought him up, and I think they're going to see, you know, what they can do with Bully as far as possibly being a starter. I mean, you take a look at what Chicago has up on the big club for a closer. Randy Myers is pretty decent.
Yeah.
You know, he's pretty good up there. So, you know, I think they're going to see, you know, what they can get out of Bully and either try to make a starter out of him or maybe even long relief.
Of course, Bullinger was a starter in Chicago frequently last year.
Yeah, he did. In fact, he had a no-hitter in one game against the Pirates that I think he took into 8th or 9th inning. There's everybody's favorite. What's he eating? He's eating something. I guarantee he's eating something. I'll tell you what, you don't get that way eating carrots and celery.
And coming to town to see a game, stay at the official hotel. The Iowa Cubs, the Hotel Savory and Spa. Call the Hotel Savory and ask for the...
And there's the house Turk Wendell thought would be a nice place to live, that old log cabin.
Probably wouldn't have liked it about a week and a half ago.
I would imagine not.
Guess they're going to move that. They're gonna, over here behind right field, where the 2 rivers actually do come together, which is supposedly the founding place of Des Moines. They're going to move it over there and put a little park area over there.
Almost got moved for him.
Almost ended up down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Almost did. Matt Franco leads off the 5th inning for the Iowa Cubs. He flew to right field his first time up. Cubs need some runs, trail 2-0. Paul Anderson's fastball is inside. Paul Anderson, his 3rd AAA appearance. He's 0-2 with a high earned run average, but tonight has done a good job blanking the Cubs on 2 hits. A shortstop, Figueroa, will throw out Franco. 1 out in the 5th.
May get another look at it. Ball's off the end of the bat. Figueroa just makes a routine play over to first base. They get the out 6-3.
Greg Lonegrove comes on, grounded out on his first pitch, his first time up. And Anderson starts him off inside. Lonegrove's 16th game at Iowa, and again, he opened the season here, played very limited ball with the Cubs the first 2 weeks of the year. It's a long drive deep to left field. That ball's way back. It is going. It is gone. A home run for Lonegrove, his first of the year for Iowa. And it is 2-1 Louisville.
Tell you what, Lonegrove, when he was here for the short time, the first half a month of the season, he was a good ball player. I liked him, and I liked what he could do, but he got caught up in a numbers thing where all of a sudden he's got to go down to Double-A because they bring Shields down, and you know, he's a good player. He gets a good swing, good cut, good pitch to hit, and he drives it out of the ballpark.
And it slices. The Redbird lead in half now, 2-1 Louisville. And Steve Traxel, who comes in batting .278, struck out his first time up, will come to the plate. But look at Greg Lonegrove. First home run as a Cub, and this his 16th game here this year. Ball 1 to Traxel. For the Cubs, their 106th home run of the year. They did not hit 100 all of last year. In fact, they hit only 97 all of last year, and they've already got 106 this year with 40-some games to go, as tonight is their 100th game.
Well, the closest they got to 100 of anything last year was losses.
And they came awful close to that.
They only missed that by 8.
Two and 1 to Iowa's pitcher, Steve Traxel.
That team was so bad, it's fun to make fun of them. I mean, they were terrible.
You know, it's interesting. There was a guy on that pitching staff last year. 2-1 pitch to Traxel is now 3-1. Named Brad Arnsberg, who you recall was 0-8 last year here, and you thought that might be it for Brad. Well, guess who's on the Louisville roster now?
Oh yeah.
His third team this year, by the way. So sometimes you have some staying power, even though the numbers would indicate maybe you shouldn't.
Well, as was when we talked about this, he must have some photos somewhere of somebody.
So Anderson has just committed what is very often in baseball a cardinal sin. He has walked Steve Traxel. And back to the top of the batting order for Fernando Ramsey.
Yeah, but Traxel, before that, you know, coming into the game, he was hitting 278.
No.
5 for 18.
I still think Anderson didn't wish to walk him.
Well, we saw what he did on 3 swings his last at bat.
That's right. Ramsey 1 for 2, a single, a stolen base in the first, and a ground out to short in the third. Cubs have the tying one on now in the last of the fifth with just 1 out. Again, Iowa just not hitting well lately. Over the last 13 ball games, just 3 times have they scored more than 7 runs, more than 3 runs. Ramsey chases the first one, and it's a good block by Fulton. Strike 1.
Can't imagine what he was thinking about swinging at that pitch.
I can't either. Ramsey, 23 doubles, tops on the ball club, 6 triples. That also is the best on the Iowa roster. And 103 hits overall, and that is number 1. And it could be 2. Anderson goes to the shortstop, Figueroa, who's on to the first baseman, Prager, who can't scoop it up. And it's the fielder's choice.
I tell you what, Traxel did a great job going into second base with Figueroa trying to make the pivot at second base. This is why Ramsey's on first base, and it's not a double play. Watch Traxel right here. Just wipes him out. And no chance, can't make the pick over at first base, but that's why Ramsey's safe, is because of Traxel's play at second base.
2 down, Ramsey at first, and off into the plate. He's 0 for 2 in his first appearance at Sec Taylor Stadium this year, having been called up from Double-A while the Cubs were on the road. He's flown to left and flown to center. Strike 1. 2 more games against the Redbirds, and then the regular season series between these two will be concluded. Iowa leads the season series coming into play tonight. Cubs have won 9, Redbirds have won 6. Last year, Iowa won the series 9-8. Strike one, rather strike two. If Dauphin can keep it alive, Tommy Shields is in the on-deck circle. And he gets a piece of it to stay alive. Marv Foley in his first year coaching the Iowa Cubs, and of course he got them off to that terrific start when he had a veteran ball club, and now keeping it together with a much younger ball club than he had to begin the year. Ramsey bluffs going, and you talk about your wild pitches.
Boy, they've even got a pitch out called, but that's a mile and a half out.
Second wild pitch given up by Anderson. And Ed Fulton is going to go out and discuss things with Paul Anderson following that toss.
This is just ugly. I mean, Fulton's looking for a pitch outside, but he doesn't want it outdoors.
And nearly out of the park.
Yeah.
Ramsey leads from second. And Dauphin chases this one for strike 3. Swung at a bad pitch that time, Mackey.
Yeah, that was up and away. In fact, that was definitely out of the strike zone.
But Lonegro's home run gives the Cubs a run. 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left on base. Through 5, it's Louisville 2, Iowa 1. With Dick McDonald, this is Larry Morgan at Sec Taylor Stadium, where through 5, a pitcher's duel between Paul Anderson and Steve Traxel, and Anderson and the Redbirds are on top by a score of 2-1. Louisville comes to the plate in the 6th inning. Lockhart, Thomas, and Snyder, the 3, 4, and 5 hitters against Steve Traxel, who tonight has fanned 6 and has walked none.
Now that doesn't look like water to me. Of course, maybe.
I hope he's not alone.
Yes, maybe. Maybe some of the water coming out of the pipes looks like that, but I don't think it comes with a head on it.
Well, he's taking their advice. He's not drinking the water. Can't fault a guy for that.
Oh, no.
Heath Lockhart, Louisville's top hitter, 1 for 2 tonight, 6th in the league in hitting with a .317 mark. Pop towards left. Dauphin on the run, has a long run on a slow track, but he gets there for the first down in the 6th inning. Six in a row put down by Traxel as Skeets Thomas comes to the plate. He's had a tough night, a strikeout and a double play. Thomas just coming off the disabled list, being hit in the arm with a pitch. Out of the University of South Carolina, 5'11", 190-pounder, good speed. And Traxel sends him down, ball 1. Oh, it
Must have hit him.
Nicked him. So Thomas is on with 1 out in the 6th.
And I can assure you, for a guy that's hit into a double play and struck out, he's not throwing this at him. I don't know where it hit him. Must have hit him on the elbow, and I can't see where it hit him. But there's no argument from anyone. No, you don't want to hit. You don't want to hit somebody that you basically got their number and put them on first base.
You got it. You got it. This is the well-traveled Van Snyder, who's 1 for 2 tonight, struck out and singled. For Snyder, the Cardinals, the 5th major league organization he's worked for in his 11-year career. All started with Kansas City back in '82. Then a stint with the Reds and the Red Sox and the Yankees. Snyder's got some power. He's hit 9 homers this year.
Well, I think Hector's done for the night. He's
Relinquished his coaching duties, has he?
gave up his coach. He gave up his coaching duties to Sebra.
Hope somebody hid the sunflower seeds if he's gone back to the dugout. Well, I think I see him out in the bullpen, spreading his goodwill out there.
Oh yeah, you know, it's a good thing he never went to Kansas, because he could eat every sunflower in Kansas, I think.
Traxel ahead of Snyder, 0-2. There's Hector.
God love him.
He's all over the ballpark tonight.
He's everywhere.
Got some scores to update you. We'll do that between innings here. Thomas chased back to first on the toss from Traxel. Steve Traxel, native of California, born in Oxnard, lives in Yorba Linda in the offseason. There's Hector. Very popular during his time here. We used to call him Fred Flintstone. Is that who you always compared Hector Villanueva to?
No, that was Bobby Ramos.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Ramos ran like Fred Flintstone
right,
when he was starting his car with those little steps when he went to run. I mean, he could be Barney Rubble.
He could be. Or the way he would run, Barney Rumble. Because things would shake a
Well,
little.
he could be Dino or Dino, or what's the pet pet dinosaur?
Cat holds it 1-2 on Van Snyder.
But I don't know anything about that TV show.
No, apparently not. You never wasted any of your youth on the Flintstones, did you?
No, that show came on when I was a mature adult.
When was that?
Soon.
Louisville comes in with 3 wins in their last 4 games. The Cubs have lost 2 in a row. And have to look over their shoulder at the Omaha Royals, and now New Orleans is also in the picture, just 4.5 out.
This is still Snyder batting, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He's been there forever.
He has. And he hits it to the shortstop Shields. To Lana Grove for 1, and to Franco for 2, and the Cubs have pulled off their 3rd double play of the ball game. Down goes the Redbirds, nothing across, and we go to the last of the 6th inning, with Louisville holding a 2-1 lead over the Cubs.
Again, don't forget you can catch every Iowa Cubs game home and away on KKSO 1390 AM with Dean Ellis.
Now, if you've had enough of all the rivers, you might want to stay away from WTBS tomorrow night, because the Braves will be traveling to Three Rivers Stadium to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tune in tomorrow night for all the action at 6 o'clock. And as if you dare, if you're not afraid of more water. Let's take a look at the scoreboard, Mackey.
Well, after 7 innings, Cincinnati and Florida tied up at 2 apiece.
Including a t-shirt gift pack.
Atlanta scored 6 runs in the top of the 9th inning to go ahead of Pittsburgh 6-0. That was scoreless after 8 innings.
Fried chicken for lucky number.
And they don't list any home runs being hit in that inning.
From HMO Iowa, a t-shirt.
After 7.5, Houston leads Chicago 2-1.
Dinner for 2 at Okoboji.
After 2 innings, St. Louis and Colorado are tied up at 3. Over in the American League final, Cleveland beat Seattle 9-4.
3-4.
After 8 innings, it's New York 5, California 2.
9-5.
And after 7 innings, Oakland and Boston are tied at 2.
Information booth.
After 6 innings, Detroit over Kansas City 6-3.
Margarita machine from Margaritas.
And one more American League score. Baltimore leads Minnesota 5-0 after 5.5 innings.
And if you have Bill's autograph on page 20.
And in the American Association, a final, Buffalo over Nashville 7-4. And after 7 innings, New Orleans leads Oklahoma City 4-0.
For your nearest usherettes.
And after 4 innings, Omaha over Indianapolis 3-1. And that's one we would like to see Indianapolis perk up a mite.
Boy, that's true, because if Omaha should win and Iowa should lose, then just a 2.5 game margin. Greg Smith, Iowa's second baseman, missing tonight. He is with his wife because she's due to give birth to a girl today, a baby cesarean, and they got it. It was a baby girl.
Baby girl.
Jennifer Nicole, born today at 3:25 to Julie and Greg Smith. She is 7 pounds, 4.5 ounces, 19.5 inches long. Congratulations to Iowa second baseman Greg Smith and his wife Julie on the birth of their baby girl Jennifer Nicole today.
We're going to have to expand the nursery around here, I think. Got a new baby in the front office.
Todd and Sherry Gusky giving birth to Jordan Tyler in the recent past. Now, I understand there was a pool on the birth of Jordan Tyler, and you didn't win it, did you? Who did?
Who's the guy that owns this ball club?
Grandquist?
Yeah. See, I think what they did is the guys in the front office got that pool together, and this is their way of making their boss happy to let him win. I mean, I cried foul, and they said that we'll have chicken tomorrow night.
He does have absolute control around here, doesn't he? By the way, in the Redbird bullpen, Gary Buckles warming up. 3-1 pitch to Shields, and it's golfed center field for a base hit. Low pitch, he went down and got it, and the Cubs have the tying run on to open the 6th inning.
You know, other than offense, they really haven't been out of this ball game. Traxel has settled down. He gave up the home run to the leadoff hitter, but you know, there you see the ball go right up the middle, and Anderson does the smart move, not a real baseball move, but he jumps out of the way. And you know, Iowa's got a chance to do something with Eddie Zambrano, probably their best offensive player at the plate right now.
And Anderson could be growing tired. He got called up from Arkansas on July the 7th, and his 2 starts has pitched a total of only 7 1/3 innings. So it's been a while, at least 2.5 weeks since he's gone this long in a ball game. Zambrano is not a guy that he can afford to make a mistake on, because Eddie's got 19 homers and 69 runs batted in, tied for 4th in the league in homers and 3rd in the league with those runs batted in.
Move those numbers to 20 and 71. That'll work out real well.
Hits the ball hard, but a line drive to the 3rd baseman Royer, not in time at first base. Shields getting back in to avert the double play. So Zambrano hits it hard, but right at Royer, 1 out in the 6th.
That's a good play by Shields over at first base. You get this line drive, and I mean, this ball is smoked over there. And the first reaction is Shields, when a ball is hit, is obviously to make a step towards second base, and he kind of gets hung out over there, but does get back to avoid the double play.
Mark Riggins, the pitching coach for the Redbirds, on his way to the mound as Craig Worthington comes to the plate. I think if I'd been the pitching coach, I might have been tempted to hold the conversation before Zambrano hit, but Anderson handled him. Anderson is not won in AAA. We mentioned just promoted from AA, and this is his first year to have an opportunity to pitch at AAA, so he's eyeing his first AAA victory if he can hang on. There's the story. Dozier's home run in the 1st inning got the Redbirds to the start. They added a run in the 3rd on a double by Prager and a single by Lockhart. Iowa's run came on a home run by Lonegro in the 5th.
You saw there where Iowa committed 2 errors. Fortunately, those 2 errors have not come into play as far as the scoring is concerned.
Shields has stolen 7 bases and been caught 4 times. Ball 1 low. Worthington, 66 strikeouts this year in 92 ball games. That's a factor that Mar Foley considers as he considers strategy. Sends the runner with a pitch. There's the throw by Fulton, and it is not in time, and Tommy Shields has captured his 8th stolen base of the year. And it's the 2nd time the Cubs have stolen off Fulton tonight.
Well, and unfortunately, Fulton is the recipient of this, but Anderson has got such a big leg kick out there and so much body motion before he delivers it that it does give Iowa a chance to steal bases.
So the would-be tying run into scoring position with one down. The count 1-1 on Worthington.
Well,
No?
2-0, I believe.
2-0. Home plate umpire Benny Walton corrects the scoreboard. Shot back to Anderson, who will have one play and is able to freeze Shields at second and throws out Worthington, who got cheated on a swing that time, and they're two gone. Matt Walbeck comes on, trying to drive Shields home with the tying run. And Mackey, this offense for Iowa has ground to a halt.
Well, it's basically non-existent right now, and you know, they've got 4 hits, and the only really good hit that they've got is Lonegro, who gets the home run, but everything else have been all singles.
And this ball's hit to center field. Snyder started to come in. Now he drifts back, but has plenty of time to run under it and make the grab. And so the Cubs, once again, as they had in an earlier inning, get their leadoff man on and can't chase him around. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left. After 6, it's Louisville 2 and Steve Traxel works into the 7th inning at Sec Taylor Stadium, a 2-1 lead by the Louisville Redbirds. And we go from the waters and the rivers outside the ballpark back into beautiful Sec Taylor Stadium. And of course, we showed you the shots prior to the ball game. I know you saw them on the news coverage. 2.5 feet of water covered most of the outfield and got in the dugouts and the locker rooms, but things back to normal as the Cubs return home and didn't have to miss a game at all because of all that, thanks to the fine work of Mike Andreessen, his grounds crew, and he did a terrific job.
Yeah, they really did. It's amazing. There you see Michael right there and part of his crew, and like I say, those guys, them some tired possum right now. Those boys love to see a bed.
Stan Royer 0 for 2. Struck out and been on with an error, and Traxel gets him to go for the first pitch in this one. Strike 1. Traxel with 6 strikeouts. Trying to win his 9th. Last year, he led all Cubs minor league starters in victories, innings pitched, and strikeouts. He won 13 games at Charlotte. Struck out 135. And this is only his 3rd year of professional baseball, and he's already having this kind of success on the AAA level. So the future is definitely bright for this young man.
Like I say, and you say 3rd year, but that first year was a short year for being a professional because he got done with the College World Series and then turned professional. So, you know, this is his 3rd year, but it's probably only about 2 years of actually pitching in professional baseball.
And I say young, he won't even turn 23 until October 31st.
At one time, and I haven't looked because everybody's changed and everything, but at one time he was the youngest player on the Iowa Cubs. He still may be.
I would imagine. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else who would be any younger at this point. He, by the way, is the first of the 91 draftees to reach AAA. From the Chicago Cubs standpoint, that is.
There's one closer. Dave Stevens, the new closer, is 7 months older.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're looking at the youngest Iowa Cub. 22-year-old Stephen Christopher Traxel.
Do you know what year those 2 guys were born? Jeez.
Down on strikes goes Royer, and Cubs have got him twice tonight, and he's just worn out Iowa pitching this year prior to tonight, and Traxel has his 7th strikeout. And Keith Jackson said he started to feel old when he first started doing football games involving players who were born in 1970, and now these guys are out of college and born in 1970, and I guess I feel a little long in the tooth. Ed Fulton, a strikeout and grounded into a double play. Cubs have pulled off 3 double plays tonight, helping Traxel immeasurably.
Yeah, what's frightening to think about is those 2 guys are younger than my son.
Yeah. Man, I would dare say making a little more money.
Yeah.
Not that I'm sure your son's doing very well, but professional baseball tends to pay pretty well.
Well, I feel certain that with the position that my son has over in Iowa City is the manager of Mondo's, he did not sign for as big a bonus as Steve Traxel did.
I feel certain that you're right.
So, I mean, that right away gives him a leg up on him.
Traxel, the 7th pick in the Cubs draft in 1991, but again, the first of the class of 91 to get as far as AAA. And the way he's pitched this year, he has a chance maybe to keep on going and get a September look from Chicago. 3-1. What is it about Traxel? What is it that makes him successful?
Well, he's got movement on the ball. He's got 3 real good pitches that he can use, and obviously his control. You know, when you get this many strikeouts, you throw a lot of strikes. You don't, and he doesn't walk very many people. So his you know, his control's very good. But you know, and he's not a small person. He's a pretty big guy. Traxel's 6'3", 185, so he's not a small guy, so he's got a little velocity out there.
He gives Iowa's pitching coach Bill Early a lot of credit for his development too. In fact, he started off last year 0-3, and then Early worked with him and he won 8 in a row. Fulton strikes out, and Traxel now has 8 strikeouts, so his season total now is 90, and that is 3rd in the league.
And what's interesting about that strikeout, he was 3-0 to Fulton and came back with 3 straight strikes.
Bien Figueroa 0 for 2. Figueroa, a veteran Redbird. In fact, only one player in Louisville history has played more games for the franchise than this man, Bien Figueroa. Bill Lyons is the Redbird who played more, but Figueroa is in his 5th season with Louisville. Signed in '86, has yet to see, I started saying no big league experience, got 12 games last year in September. That was his first big league experience. 11 big league at bats. One and one. All those years in Louisville, we mentioned his 5th season, has hit 1 home run.
So I guess it's safe to say Iowa shouldn't really respect his power, is that?
That's what I'm telling you. Well, look at the outfield right now. Ramsey is pretty shallow. Of course, he always plays a shallow center, but he's especially shallow for Figueroa.
And not really looking for him to pull the ball because he's over in right center.
Traxel's 1-2 pitch, and Figueroa doesn't get the ball in front of the plate, but he does get the bat there, and it's a strikeout for Traxel. He fans the side in the 7th, second time in the ball game that he struck out the side. His strikeout total has reached 9, and we go to the last of the 7th with the Cubs needing a run to tie and 2 to take the lead. It's Louisville 2 and Iowa 1. We have just a moment. Pass along to you some information. If you are the person who, or knows the person who's in charge of running the baseball facility for your school, Mike Andreessen, Iowa's head groundskeeper, talked about it earlier. We'll talk about that in a moment.